We got the money. Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't know what they're
Netflix, guess what? How much money did we get you with Stranger Things? Let's do it with this. And Netflix is like, you know what? Corporate speaks, corporate speak. Money, 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 corporate speak. Here you go.
Yeah. I don't know. I would agree. It's like, you know, it's like they made Avengers, you know, and then they just were like, people like explosions. People like the big. People don't like the intricate like stories. They don't like the conclusion of all these character arcs. They're there for the spectacle.
Yeah.
Let's give them that. But the problem with this movie is that it doesn't even do that. It doesn't actually have any spectacle because every action scene is also bad.
Yep.
Which is just like, where's this money getting going? You know, like I don't know. Which we'll get into in our conversation.
I think we're geared up and ready to go.
I think we're pretty close.
Okay, so
it depends on where James is at. James, are we live currently? Good.
Recording.
Excellent.
Recording.
Good. Okay, you got the people.
I got the people. I got everybody. Yep. I got the guests.
So we can kind of go into it. I guess we'll do the countdown, the 3, 2, 1 countdown. So if you wanna give us that, the go. All right, welcome to Matt and Mike's Matinee. Today we're going to be talking about the Electric State, the new movie by the Ruso Brothers. Do you know anything about this movie? Did you know anything about it going in?
Not a thing. I didn't know a thing about it going in, other than I was scrolling through YouTube Shorts and saw Chris Pratt's character and a robot throwing a car through a skyscraper.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, stopping there. We need to watch it.
Right.
But you told me about it before, and we were going to watch it a week before that, too.
Right.
But our plans fell through.
Yeah, it didn't work. But I myself knew only about that much. I knew it was based on a graphic novel. The person who created the graphic novels escapes my mind at the moment. Maybe you can fact check me, cameraman, in a little bit. You can just put it right here on the screen. You know what I mean? So the person who made the Electric State graphic novel, please. So yeah, all right. And but regardless, all I knew is that the movie had a terrible reception from critics because everybody was comparing it to a graphic novel and basically said that the Russo brothers basically looked at the book, just kind of like aesthetically, like vibed with it, like what it looked like and that, but then just decided to not really explore any of the themes present with it. They made up characters that didn't exist in it and just kind of did this action adventure romp. I knew that the audience members liked it a little bit more than the critics did, but I was like maybe just a little bit aware of the bias, again, the critic bias, that was going into it. So, but honestly, I don't really think that really would affect my opinion of this movie at all if I had read the book like most of the critics did. I think as it stands, this movie is pretty miserable. It's a pretty miserable movie.
Miserable is a little bit of a strong word. It's not a 1.
No, it's not a 1 or a 2.
It's not a 1 or a 2. It's above a 2.
Yeah, it is 2.
Not far. Not far above a 2.
Yeah. No, it's right. I mean, miserable might be too strong, but it is like aggressively boring. I will at least say it is pretty dull. It is pretty milquetoast, you know. So we got to go into it. We got to make this like a really quick kind of summary because I feel like there's not really maybe a lot we're going to talk about. So let's just hit our quick like feelings, and then we'll just kind of go free-form discussion as far as the spoilers and everything. So
was there any redeemable thing from the movie?
Yeah, there's one redeemable character in the movie. There's a little robot named Herman. Mm-hmm. Herman's pretty chill. If there was more Herman and less of a lot of everything else in this movie, it might have even done it. Done it at a service, and it might have gotten a higher score. But honestly, it's slow. It's shot really weird. It's shot like a low-budget TV special, and considering the budget was $350 million, it's ridiculous that it's that way. The acting is stiff. The delivery of the lines are stiff. The suspension of disbelief is not there. You never really feel like the actors believe they're in this world or setting. There's no action scenes, like, because all of this stuff could be ignored if there was like just big dumb action scenes to watch, because then at least you can go, well, okay, I'm just doing a spectacle, kind of experience. But we don't even have that. It doesn't. There's no action scenes. There's no payoffs. They don't explore the themes brought up in the movie. So yeah, it just fails almost at every corner, and not in a way that's just like slightly disappointing, which is why I have to give it a 3. I mean, it's just a bad movie.
Yeah.
But I guess you're right in that I don't feel hate. I wouldn't describe anything that I give like lower than a bad movie is getting into the point where I'm a little bit like, I really loathe or hate this movie. And my wording is not that strong when I'm talking about the movie. So obviously it's going to stay at 3 for me. But
yeah.
What about you? Do you agree?
So the very first shot, I was hesitant about enjoying the movie.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because Millie Bobby Brown, love the girl. She does great in other things, but this was not the role for her. We need to stop childifying her. She's a grown woman. This was not her style of movie. If it would have been somebody new, if we'd have brought a new character in, a new person, a new actress, I think it would have benefited, because that person would have actually been around a whole lot of really good actors and helped boost them. But instead, what it seems like the Ruso brothers did was just hire big name after big name after big name instead of focusing on their script.
And they probably went with her because it's a Netflix original, and Stranger Things is a Netflix original, so they probably wanted to get that crossover audience,
And she worked with them,
right?
With Stranger Things.
Studios. Yeah, right, exactly. That's the deal. So yeah.
But maybe they could have put her in a different role. You know what I mean? And still had her in there, but not like as the main character.
Right.
You needed a younger character.
Right.
A younger person is what you need.
She could have voice acted the male robot lady.
Exactly.
Or something.
Yeah. Or just been a person who was fighting with the robots the whole time.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into that later on. Instead, it was just like, oh, hey, Millie Bobby Brown. You're here for Millie Bobby Brown, not the story. Now, good things. The CGI, absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Every single robot, every single, creative thing that they did with them was lovely to watch.
Yeah.
It's honestly what kept it hovering there for a little while. Now, there were scenes, kind of like Detective Pikachu, where let's see how many cool robots we could fit on the screen all at once. In my opinion, that was one of the boons for the movie.
Yeah.
But the pacing was just absolutely knees deep in mud.
Yeah.
Just
you remember when we stopped halfway through to get some snacks, and we looked on the screen, we saw there was an hour left. We're like, oh no. Graciously, the last hour was faster than the first.
Thank God.
Yeah. But
so really, there's not too many high points other than the CGI.
Yeah.
Because the scripting really held back a lot of what could have happened.
Yeah, the script was miserable, like I said, and not only it just does a disservice to all these actors. Like, you got all this talent, but I don't really feel like it's the actors and actresses' fault that their dialogue comes across so stiff, or none of their scenes really feel right, or that it has to be the script, that what they have, the material they have to work with is bad, and it tears the whole movie down.
Yes. By no means is it the actors or the actresses' fault.
Yeah, right.
It's 100% the Russo Bros' fault for not making them look good in this.
Yeah.
And editing it and directing them in the wrong way to make it feel, to me, like it was a young teens movie.
But I mean, like a young teens movie that didn't know how to target the movie to young teen. Well, I don't even know if it was a young teens movie. I mean, like the jokes are weird because they either are like too adult or they're just infantile. The humor doesn't work in this movie.
No.
In fact, there's a lot of times where I have no idea if what they're doing is supposed to even be a joke or not. I am assuming it is, but the movie's tone is just so
all over the place.
All over the place. It's just hard to tell, you know. And so sometimes where I'm like, I think this movie is like a TV show made for like 8-year-olds.
You said that,
you say, but like I say that, but then there's like
cursing.
There's cursing. There's like penis jokes. There's
some pretty scary scenes too.
Yeah. So then you're just like, but everything is so annoying and kind of so poorly thought out that I mean, like, and so like there's no stakes, so I don't really feel like adults will get anything out of it either, you know. So it just has, like, I described it as a movie like made for no one in particular in mind, and therefore a movie made for no one.
Exactly. It's the porridge, the flavorless porridge.
Yeah. So what number are you sitting at?
So
you're
I'm also at a 3.
3. Yeah, we're in agreement. The first agreement of Matt and Mike's Matinee so
far. on record.
Yeah, it's on record so far. But that's good. So I guess with that we'll just push right through to the spoilers.
So we're gonna set up a beat by beat.
Yeah, just kind of a thing. Yeah, we'll just kind of talk about some of the stuff, and this shouldn't take a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, at the very beginning of the movie, the premise is that there's essentially a war. Like, all the robots that are being made by...
Hang on. Well, you gotta let them know.
What?
Spoilers ahead.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
Warning.
Matt jumps the gun. You know? I didn't jump the shark.
Go ahead. Hop off if you haven't seen it. Honestly, we wouldn't blame you if you wanted to watch this part and haven't seen it.
To be fair, I mean, honestly, we probably didn't even have to do this.
That's why you jumped the gun, is because you're just like, let's go.
Anyways, all right.
So
we'll see you in the spoiler section. All right. Now, like I was saying, war, robots. Basically, you know, Walt Disney ended up making a bunch of robots, leading the robot industrial revolution. This is sort of an alternate history version of the 90s, which they don't really do very much with at all.
No.
Like, there's very few 90s references, really, and there's not really, and even some of the stuff they...
100% just preposition. They just say it at the very beginning,
and it's there a little bit, like with the CR, like the vacuum cleaner helmets, which we'll get into in a minute, and like the singing fish, and like Oasis's Wonderwall, and a couple things, but there's not a. I mean, it doesn't feel like there's a great justification for it being set in this. They don't do as much with it as like Fallout does with its version, its alternate history version setting, you know.
Yeah.
But so basically all the robots basically that were made to be like service robots decide they don't want to work for humans anymore. They want to have rights. They don't want to be treated like toasters. You know, there's like a scene where there's an interview between a robot and like a person for the news, and then they're talking about like, oh, if my toaster breaks down, I just throw it away and buy a new toaster, and then the robot's like, that's murder, or you know, yeah.
So let's talk about that scene real quick. I want to stop.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay, yes.
Because that right there is one of the things that we've discussed before, where the movie is telling you how to feel about the situation.
Yeah.
100%. It's an instant dichotomy to like the extreme. Like humans are 100%. You know. No robots, none of this. They are robots, and they're trying to nail that into your head so that you can try to feel that way going into the movie, and then be dissuaded otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
They don't give you the ability to stretch that thought.
Right. Yeah.
And
it's not nuanced. It's not nuanced at all. It is just taking it, you know, just hitting you over the head. That's the whole movie is done because I mean the Ruso kind of. Well, I mean, it's very, but I'd say if they're hitting you over the head with a hammer, but they're unsure of what they're trying to drive into you.
Yeah.
So it's really weird, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of the cases of this that happens.
If they would have like set up a human resistance side of it, I think I would have been more invested into the movie.
Right.
Because there was literally no like, anybody, no human at all, other than Chris Pratt's character,
Right.
who worked with robots
Right.
after the war.
Yeah, and then another character we kind of go into a little bit. There's like the Doctor too character that's played by Short Round from the Goonies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Key.
Yes.
So he,
But that's it. There's like three people. There's the main character. There's Chris Pratt, and then there's this doctor that we'll get into in a minute. But after that, every single other person is just like this evil, consuming, brainless human drone. That's just like robots bad. You know, and not until the main character's riveting speech at the end that changes everybody's opinion out of nowhere.
riveting speech.
Yeah, which we'll get.
We're
There's a little sarcasm there. So anyway, the setup of the movie though is like, so there's that, and then the robot war basically, it meets its conclusion. It basically makes some sort of peace treaty. And the peace treaty was brought about because the robots were winning, which is kind of funny. So all these like robots that were like barbershop robots and like hot dog serving robots are just like blasting through the world's military like Swiss cheese, which makes sense because the military in this all of the military people in this are useless. They're like stormtroopers. They have
Yeah.
So maybe it's accurate. It's lore accurate to have the robots winning. But so they end up like they come through, they sweep, and it was not until the main actress's brother, who we realize is like this super genius. He basically like took a test that Einstein took, but he finished it in like a third of the time or something. He basically ended up in an accident, and we realize that is it Dr. Kim or Mr. Kim?
Dr. Clark.
Dr. Clark.
That's Mr. Key's.
Mr. Key, yes, Mr. Key's character is Dr. Clark. So Dr. Clark ends up being one of the people that end up saving this character's brother from, and they think that the kid's a vegetable, but they end up saving his brain and end up hooking the kid's brain into this mainframe to basically like help run this network that everyone uses to basically the network they plug in these devices and they're able to like split their consciousness in half, and like one half of it goes working and one half goes and like on like vacation at like and so but because they plug his brain in is not explained extremely well, like somehow he basically leads the humans into victory in the war because he was involved somehow.
Yeah, so Stanley Tucci's character Ethan Skate, right, designed those headsets, kind of like a VR. We're in a Ready Player One-esque world at this point.
Yeah,
and he's using Millie Bobby Brown's character's brother because his brain is stronger than any of the computers that they have at the time.
Yeah.
And Ethan Skate is just the corporate gung ho, make money, don't care about humanity character.
Yeah. And we realize that over the course of the movie that like after the robot war is over, all the robots are going to isolate in their own section where nobody's allowed to go in, but they're left alone. They're allowed to basically live after the war, but they just can't. Humans and robots can't interact anymore. Otherwise,
the exozone.
Otherwise, like the treaty's up for some reason if one of them's seen together.
Which is
flimsy and not explained.
Flimsy.
And then but that's what happens. But basically, the Dr. Clark character realizes that the kid is not a vegetable, and I'm dipping in a little bit in the future just to grab this little nugget of information.
Christopher's the character.
Christopher, yes,
is
Christopher,
the brain guy.
The brain. So they find out that Christopher is not necessarily a vegetable. So, but the evil corporate overlord man is just like, oh well, we got to keep the business afloat. We'll keep using it doesn't matter. The boy's not a vegetable, and so Dr. Clark ends up making. He basically makes like a crack in the code where Christopher's consciousness can slip out, and so Christopher somehow ends up in the body of a robot that is like this from this cartoon that Christopher and Matt. Is it Maddie Bobby Brown's character?
Voiced by Alan Tudyk. He's Cosmo, isn't he?
Yeah. Voice. Yeah, basically, yeah. This little space robot cartoon character, and he somehow ends up in the body of this thing, and then winds up finding his sister, and he can't his vocal box doesn't work, so they end up just basically replicating Bumblebee, because she's able to just immediately open up his head, fix the
one thing that's wrong with him
immediately, and then he's just like can only repeat catchphrases from the movie or from the show, the in-universe show, and it's really bad. And then there's tons of problems, because it's like, he can't speak, but he still has like every other part of his autonomy, like, and there's computers in the world, like he can't like type up some instructions somewhere, he can't like.
You can hack into a robot. Yeah. Why not hack into an actual computer?
Yeah. But somehow she like realizes it's even though the robot, like, she finds out really quickly that the robot's her brother,
but through another flimsy means.
Yeah.
Because they had that whole Cosmo like thing, and it's like, okay, if this robot is Cosmo, doesn't he automatically do that sign anyways?
Yeah, he does.
So how?
And the only other thing the thing did was like the robot pointed at the picture of the two siblings, and it's like we should be a team.
And then Michelle,
there's nothing between like we should be a team like you and your brother to doing the symbol from the show should equate to her immediately going, "You're obviously my dead brother."
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So she was so scared of him, and everybody is so scared of robots at this point that logically there would be no way.
Yeah, I know.
On God's green earth or the Russo Bros screwed up chronological Earth.
Yeah.
That she would make that connection.
Yeah, like that quickly.
That quickly.
Yeah, I know. It's silly. So, but essentially, for some reason, he was baked in also, probably from the doctor, was baked in with the information that like, oh, you need to go into the find the robots that live in the closed off zone on Tabletop Canyon, right?
Tabletop
Mountain. And then you go there, and then like once you're there, basically have like a safe home, like you know. And so it's the deal. So they go on a journey. Basically, the movie is like a journey.
Dr. Clark set the breadcrumbs
right
there to go find him.
Right. So it's basically the first thing they have to do is they have to find some way there. So that's when they meet the Chris Pratt's character and Herman. They basically through some other MacGuffins, like finding like boxes that were delivered by Chris Pratt's character, in the trunk of the car they stole.
Which that scene was so weird and awkward because she just conveniently opens up the trunk out of nowhere with no like drive to open it up.
Yeah. And
is like, oh hey, this is where we could go.
Yeah. And they go there and immediately they the very first night that they run up on they find like this mailbox that
conveniently
that Chris Pratt's character uses. Chris Pratt's character doesn't have a name, by the way, which is why we're just going to call him Chris Pratt's character.
Yeah.
Just so you know, we're not crazy. So they go there. They basically do like a stakeout. He goes there the first night they're there. They find him. They sneak. He basically has like this situation where it's the very first time the movie reuses some of the same jokes they use over and over again.
The shock.
Yeah, the shock thing, or
it's very shocking, and then
nothing happens.
Herman would come by and shock somebody.
Right, but the joke was it didn't happen the first time.
Oh yeah, but that's the delayed. Okay. Chris Pratt's character does have a name.
Oh yes,
it's Keats.
Keats. Okay,
it's Keats.
Great.
Sorry,
we just erased that from our brain. Because he's that memorable.
It's because we just Googled it right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, anyways. So, but Keats, right? Like, that's the joke, and they do that a couple times. They have other great bits like, there's no way we're going to do this thing, and then it does a cut to them doing the thing they said they're not going to do.
Low hanging joke.
Yeah, lots of that. Yeah, lots of that, unfortunately.
Well, let's talk about Michelle's thwarting conversation to join to get them all together.
Yeah. This happens basically like after they break in. So basically, they sneak on into his truck. They go back to his hideout. There's this one guy who's like hunting them down. He somehow like realizes that like Christopher's like been sighted somehow, like early on, like quickly. It's not really explained how he's able to catch onto it so quickly, but he's hunting them down, and they get away from him. Chris Pratt's character, Keats and Herman's like underground like base where they've been kind of like finding contraband and selling it. It's crashed. They end up in the desert where they're like, we're definitely not going to. You got us trapped in the robot zone. We're stuck here. We're not going to help you out. And then she convinces them
by nothing.
By basically just saying, hey, well, we are going to a place we've never seen before, which is something.
Yeah. And Chris Pratt makes the joke.
Yeah.
Keats makes the joke. Oh, so what are we going to do? Have the big robot pick up this small car and walk us there? And then all of a sudden, it just cuts to them doing it.
Yeah.
With no exposition.
Yeah.
No exposition.
Yeah. It's great. Love it.
At all.
Yeah.
By the way, the big bad, its name is Marshall.
Yeah. So the bounty hunter guy is Marshall. Yeah.
Is Marshall.
So okay. So as we basically go on, and then basically, I mean, from here on out, just because we don't want to extend this too long, they find the robot sanctuary.
Let me summon it up.
Yeah.
Really cool looking robot. Really cool looking robot.
Yeah.
Really cool looking robot.
Yeah, and that's basically the rest. I mean, basically, they find like the robot sanctuary. The Millie Bobby Brown's character, Michelle, also does like somehow convinces all the robots to join her to go fight the evil corpos. Also by like changing their opinions immediately, by also like giving them a snarky one-liner quip. Which is great. I love that, And then it's basically the rest of the movie after that is just sort of like it's the hijinks stuff. It's the fighting, the battling, the stopping the evil
figuring
CEOs.
out the big twist at the end.
Right. Yeah.
Which is that here we go.
Yeah.
We're gonna just dive into it. The missed opportunity of the point of the whole movie, which was her brother could have been alive, right? Whenever the wreck happened and Millie lost her family and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
She made the point that she would have pulled the plug, but
because it's ethically wrong to keep him alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Dr. Clark kept him alive, and then we find out later that Christopher got out of his coma.
Yeah. Right.
And so the movie does the thing of telling you what you're supposed to think again in that moment, with saying it's okay to pull the plug at the very beginning and not try to fight.
Yeah.
Which contradicts the whole movie because they're fighting to get to that point.
Yeah.
And at that, you're just like, what is going on here? You would think that Michelle would want to fight for her brother and keep him alive.
Yeah.
And you would think that Dr. Clark would be painted in a brighter light because at the end...
Yeah. Because he was trying to save him.
Christopher... Yeah. But there was some corporate money BS going on there.
Yeah.
But if they would have focused on that...
Yeah,
it would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, basically, essentially, like as I said, they when they get there, and that comes about where like she realizes she has to like pull the plug on her brother. Basically, that one guy that's hunting him down Marshall captures the brother in the middle of the wacky combat fighting action sequence hijinks at the end of the movie, takes him back to the evil CEO. They plug him back in to and then Marshall realizes that, oh man, I just plugged with this. We're using real humans for this, Then he has like the villain sort of redemption arc, where he's like,
But he's just standing there the whole time,
Yeah,
too.
but
he's just sitting there watching it happen through
Yeah.
this robot body, and it's just like, you can't portray the emotions properly through him,
Yeah.
so it doesn't hit well, because it's not
Right.
through an actual person, it's through a robot.
Right. So, but he has a change of heart. He ends up helping the robots fight the corporations, try to save the brother after and then but then the reason why Christopher has to be like turned off and killed is that they've attached him to the mainframe too hard this time, which I don't really know how that
makes absolutely zero sense.
But they do that, and that's why. And then there's this, and then she has to do it, which is my favorite part of the movie is that she reaches down and just hits the buttons,
three buttons
to kill him, which is just like 3 buttons on the side of this machine, which seems really really dumb.
Yeah,
like just to be
bad engineering right there.
Why would you do that? Yeah, it's really bad, and I think that, and this kind of like has the last bit I want to say, one of the only scenes that kind of got me. So after she convinces the robots to help save her brother, and they all go to fight the evil corpos. Then there's a scene where Chris Pratt's the robot companion Herman ends up maybe dying, and it got me a little bit. So I do have to give the movie some credit. So throughout the whole movie, Herman basically is able to get into like larger versions of himself. Mm-hmm. He like climbs in like a cockpit, and then the faceplate goes down, and then his like face comes on the faceplate. We've seen him do it a couple different iterations of it. So there's like normal sized Herman, big Herman that carries the bus, and then there's a giant Herman in the final fight scene, who's the one throwing the cars inside the skyscraper.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But there at the end, like small regular sized Herman ends up getting
Russian nesting doll.
Yeah, basically he ends up getting shot through the chest. Ends up like dying.
Doesn't make any sense, by the way.
And there's this really emotional scene with Chris Pratt where Chris Pratt's like really getting upset because he likes Herman more than just a friend. Also,
that was so
you know
awkward.
What I mean?
I like you. You're my best friend, and maybe even more than a friend.
yeah. Which I think is a really funny. It's a really funny idea that doesn't get explored or talked about ever.
Nope. Which it should have.
But like you're just like, the whole time we were expecting him to go like, for like Herman to basically go like, I'm all right,
Yeah.
But that's not what happens. Many Hermans, like Herman is dead, but then his faceplate comes up and a tinier Herman comes out, which I was not expecting. It is hidden right there because like the whole movie you see him doing that.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it coming, and I will say it was one of the only times where I was like,
I think we were so sidetracked by how bad the movie was.
I know.
That we were making quips at every other thing and not picking up on that little detail.
I know. It was something. It was something. And then he comes out and he makes a penis joke.
Right, just instantly ruins the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So, but you bring up a point though. It's like they're robots. Why is any kind of damage to them life ending?
Yeah, I mean the one thing where like the villains have like the EMP grade shots or EMP bullets that just shoots them and it like shorts them out. That makes some kind of sense because it just fries their motherboard. Right.
You know what I mean? It's
But because that's what happens to the big Sonic looking character ends up getting hit with those EMP shots in the leg and falls down. But
which once again shows the whole stormtrooper-esque.
Yeah. You loved it. I remember your favorite scene obviously was the one where Millie Bobby Brown's character takes out an elite like officer like robot with a paintball gun.
Yes,
you love that, don't you?
It was just like the scene is they're in this like creepy circus-esque place.
Yeah.
And they're fighting marshals like side soldiers, right?
Yeah.
And this one soldier is right on top of one of our good guys, and then Millie Bobby Brown character comes in shooting a paintball towards the soldier. Yeah. And what does the soldier do? The most unsoldier-like thing I have ever seen, and drops the gun.
Drops his gun. Well, he drops his gun, and his faceplate gets like covered in paint, but he's still inside of a building.
Yeah.
And this moron decides to turn on his like flying helicopter like
Exactly.
back. So he does it, and he shoots up, and he hits the ceiling, and immediately blows up and dies.
You 100% know that was that
yeah.
dude's first day.
Yeah.
He had
Yeah.
just applied.
It's such a bad scene. It's such a bad. There's so much of that in this movie, though, and but the thing is, like, but the problem is, like, we're making it joking about around with stuff like that makes it seem more fun than it is. It's not funny or fun. It's mostly boring. That's like in a 2 and 10 hour movie, you have like 1 or 2 scenes we can kind of laugh about, and the rest of it is just you're just kind of coasting along, waiting for something to happen.
It's chugging along.
Yeah.
but here's the thing: if you actually interact with your entertainment like we do, you get more out of it, right? Like talking about it and making fun of it, and in some sense picking at it, made the movie more enjoyable for me. Like, I always enjoy watching movies with you guys because we're able to do that.
Well, you're able to get stuff out of watching bad movies. Even exploring why a movie is bad and joking and like actually kind of talking about why it doesn't work can be beneficial to you and your movie watching. Like, it's really important to come and watch something like this every once in a while, because it makes you go, it makes you like the stuff you like more.
Yep.
And you go, oh man, like, sometimes you need to go and see something like that. As weird as it sounds, like, if you only get good stuff, it makes them less sweet.
So it's almost like a comparison, like a base ground. Like, going forward, we can say, well, this wasn't as bad as the Electric State.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as good as like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right.
To me.
Yeah, true.
Nowhere close to that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But I got one last thing to say. And I think it's just an observation that I think is the reason why the Millie Bobby Brown's character doesn't work. It's the fact that she's the rebellious, troubled youth character.
Cliche.
So it's one, a cliche, but two, she's always kind of shown to be in the right, and not only just like tonally, like the movies always expect you to be on her side no matter what she says, with every quip that she says.
Just automatically.
But even at the beginning, like, she can't even be like someone who utilizes the headset things, like, because it's like she immediately is just like distrusting of it, doesn't use it before there's like a. But it's never really explored why she's so anti-technology. Mm-hmm. But they need her to be, because she's the hero and she's always right. So of course she wasn't for it, because it ended up being evil and immoral. Mm-hmm. And the whole movie kind of has that. So she never feels like a real character, real person, real character. I was watching a recent movie, one of my favorite movies of the last like 4 years or so I've seen, called The Holdovers. An amazing movie. I hope I can show you sometime. But it has like a troubled youth character in it, and he's not always angry, always throwing things back in people's faces, always contrarian to everything. He has moments of like where he's kind to people, or he shows empathy, or he's shows vulnerability, and that is not in this movie. Because anytime that she's like vulnerable, it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like she like grows as a person ever.
She's a very flat character. She's written to be flat.
Yeah.
Millie Bobby Brown did not add that to it. It was 100% the Ruso Brothers.
Yeah, and so it just makes the end bad. With her, when she's just like convinces everybody to like love robots again.
Well, it wasn't even that.
Like, or just like reach out and just be like, you're not alone. You don't have to be plugged into technology. You can go touch grass, kids.
She was like, if you're like me and you have nobody, now you do. You can come join us.
Right.
All the outcasts. Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, her outcast personality was caused 100% by her and her choices going up to that point. Like even the teacher at the very beginning was like, if you just put on your headset, you'll be having fun. You'll make friends, and you're gonna. And Millie's like, nope, I'm too cool for that.
Yeah. Love it.
No.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and then the whole conflict at the end of the movie is also ruined, where she has to like make the sacrifice to kill her brother, turn off her brother and stuff, because the brother his conscience gets shoots back into the robot in the very last scene. You know, and then you're
Yes.
just like, well,
So-
the whole movie is
Yes,
completely pointless.
Cosmo and Christopher live
yeah,
at the very end. That's the biggest spoiler we could say
yeah,
on camera.
yeah.
But here's the thing. Why didn't he put the effort towards doing that in the first place?
Yeah.
It was like, I'm sorry, sis. I'll see you in the afterlife.
Yeah.
On what does she call it? Like the other particles
Right.
or
Well,
something
because
like
he
that?
forgot about the break in the program that allowed him to slip out of it the first time. Because he's that smart. You know, he's a super genius.
He's
You know,
a super
like
genius,
that.
but he's not.
Yeah,
he's
right,
not.
like that, yeah.
He's conveniently not
Conveniently not a genius.
over superly
Right,
genius
yeah.
when the plot says
Yeah.
for him not
Yeah,
to
well,
be.
I mean, was he ever entering any of the point of the movie? Was Robot him ever smart or did anything intelligent? No, he did nothing.
he did absolutely nothing. But
He was just like
but
the whole
Bumblebee
movie
the whole time.
Yeah, but worthless Bumblebee.
And it wasn't even like a Bumblebee like conversation that you could understand.
It was a escort quest like in a video game. Where you escort somebody
That's-
who's just useless. Is what that is.
The electric state
Yeah.
escort quest.
The escort state. Yeah. I
Are
guess.
you
Yeah.
ready?
I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't think there's anything else to summarize. We already gave the rating earlier in the video. I think that I don't think that my opinion has changed. I think still a 3 for me. What about you? Still a 3?
Still 3.
Still a 3. All right.
Still 3.
Yep. That's it.
So, alrighty, guys. Let us know what you think in below in comments. Join us for the party. Thank you for being here, and see you on the clip side.